A 14-year-old girl named Madhu was sold into prostitution by her husband, where she will treated roughly and forced to sleep with any man that pays. Every day, she keeps crying and pleading to be released to go back home. The madam of the brothel, Rashmabai, was advised to invite a woman named Gangubai to make Madhu give in willingly. Gangubai came to see her and empathize with her. She explained that most of the girls there had the same story and decided to tell Madhu her own story. Her name was Ganganjagjiwadas Kathiawadi. She was from a prestigious family. Her boyfriend had spoken to his aunt about her, and his aunt had helped her get a connection to feature in a movie with her favorite actor, Dev Anand. He had told her not to involve her parents because they would never let her go. He also told her to bring along some money and jewels which they would return after the shooting, then they left. Ganga was not happy about what she was doing, but she also wanted to be a movie star, not knowing it was all a plan to sell her into prostitution. Upon reaching his aunt's house, discomfort engulfed Ganga, leading her to propose returning home. Dismissing her concerns, he ventured into a room to fetch his aunt. Ganga, feeling uneasy, reluctantly followed Ramnik. Inside, a woman, introduced as Ramnik's aunt, guided Ganga to another room where Ramnik was supposedly located. However, upon entering, the door promptly locked behind her. Despite her cries and pleas, silence prevailed. Gradually, she learned the truth. Her boyfriend had betrayed her, selling her to a brothel for a mere 1,000 rupees. Devastation and despair consumed her, yet she found a grim resolve. Embracing her new reality, she entered the trade, pleasing clients who rewarded her with tips. Reborn as Gangu, an appellation inspired by a client, she navigated her altered life. After a year in the brothel, Gangu decided to treat her fellow girls to a movie as a one-year anniversary gesture against Aunt Sheila's wishes. One early morning, a man arrived at the brothel specifically requesting Gangu's services. Despite the security guard's warning about his potential danger, Aunt Sheila instructed Gangu to attend to him at twice the normal price. Concurrently, she dispatched the security guard on an errand away from the premises. The client, however, brutally assaulted Gangu instead of availing her services. She cried out for help, but Aunt Sheila feigned helplessness and refrained from intervening. The severe beating left Gangu hospitalized with facial and abdominal stitches along with a broken limb. Learning that her attacker had a history of murder and rape cases and was affiliated with the feared Rahim Lala, a man even the police dreaded, Gangu realized the gravity of the situation. Upon her hospital discharge, Gangu sought justice from Rahim Lala. Displaying her injuries, she recounted her ordeal. Moved, Rahim Lala promised her the justice she deserved. He provided her with a companion to alert him of the man's return, extended financial aid for her treatment, and embraced her as his sister. When the man reappeared one day, willing to pay 4 times the standard rate, Aunt Sheila accepted the offer, which angered the other girls. Gangu, undeterred, instructed them to inform Rahim Lala and confronted the man. Swiftly, Rahim Lala and his men arrived, forcibly removing the man. Rahim Lala administered a fierce retribution, rendering the man unconscious. Aunt Sheila was surprised by Rahim Lala's intervention, leading to a shift in Gangu's freedom within the establishment. Subsequently, Aunt Sheila fell ill and passed away. After Aunt Sheila's passing, Gangu took on the role of caring for the brothel's residents. They fairly divided Aunt Sheila's wealth amongst themselves. Gangu displayed her courage by lodging a complaint against police extortion that resulted in positive changes. Witnessing her devoted efforts, the girls earnestly asked Gangu to lead them as their new madam, a position she embraced as Gangubai. When Gangu shared her own story with Madhu, she offered Madhu 2 options: accept her circumstances or choose to end her life. Tragically, Madhu chose the latter path. Moved by empathy, Gangu decided to help Madhu return home safely. She not only compensated Madhu tenfold for her initial payment, but also arranged for her secure journey accompanied by one of her trusted associates. One day, the tailor arrived at the brothel accompanied by his nephew, Afshin, who was taking over due to his uncle's advancing age. Instantly, Gangubai and Afshin felt a mutual attraction, sparking flirtation and the sharing of time together. With elections on the horizon, Gangubai resolved to participate, undeterred by her men's warnings about the formidable and wealthier incumbent, Raziabai, who had held the presidency for 2 years. Unwavering, Gangubai embarked on her campaign, shining a spotlight on the tale of a young girl she had rescued. In addition, she approached her brother, Rahim, extending an offer to assist in managing a branch of his alcohol business at the brothel. Although Rahim initially hesitated due to societal norms, Gangubai's persuasive appeals swayed him. He not only agreed but also presented her with a car and permission to retain 20% of her sales as a gesture of support. On a certain day, Afshin visited the brothel to deliver her blouse. Finding her in the midst of bathing, she invited him inside. He presented the blouse and complimented her beauty, confessing his love, to which she reciprocated her feelings. Their companionship deepened, leading to more time spent together. As they grew closer, he expressed his desire to marry her, though she responded with laughter, not taking it seriously. When President Raziabai summoned Gangubai, she staunchly declined the meeting. In response, Raziabai dispatched police to raid the brothel and intimidate Gangubai with jail threats, yet she thwarted them with a bribe. Undeterred, Raziabai persisted, confronting Gangubai at a diner where she belittled and insulted her. Gangubai, however, stood her ground, refusing to be diminished. In a twist, Raziabai mockingly invited Gangubai to her upcoming speech ceremony. Gangubai promptly contacted her brother, briefing him on recent events and requesting backup for safety. Simultaneously, Gangubai invited the entire community to a movie screening, coinciding with Raziabai's speech event, unknown to Raziabai herself. As the ceremony time arrived, none attended, leaving Raziabai fuming upon discovering the community's presence at Gangubai's movie gathering. Amidst Raziabai's ire, Gangubai surprisingly honored the invitation, further inflaming Raziabai's anger and threats. In the brothel lived a woman named Kusum, who had a daughter named Roshan. Kusum gave her daughter opium and kept her hidden in a cage behind the brothel to shield her. One day, Gangubai discovered Roshan in the cage and insisted on setting her free. Kusum worried as Roshan was now 15 and feared for her safety if found in the brothel. Gangubai took them to Afshin's family home, offering a large dowry, proposing marriage between Afshin and Roshan. Though initially upset, Afshin eventually accepted due to Gangubai's explanation of safeguarding Roshan's future. Despite Afshin's efforts to change Gangubai's mind and preserve their love, Gangubai remained resolute. The wedding took place swiftly, a grand affair. Gangubai, even though sad to part with her love, was committed to the well-being of the community's women. After clinching victory in the election, Gangubai connected with her subjects, pledging her commitment to their welfare. She dialed her home number, breaking a 12-year silence, only to encounter her mother's displeasure over the prolonged absence and her strained relationship with her late father, who passed away with unresolved grievances. As preparations for an imminent traditional festival were underway, Gangubai's confidant Kamli unveiled her pregnancy and determination to embrace motherhood. The festive revelry brought together all the women in a joyous amalgamation of dance and merriment. Nevertheless, following the festivities, Rahim conveyed unsettling news that the neighboring school had initiated a petition advocating the expulsion of the brothels from the locality. Bolstered by Rahim's encouragement, Gangubai resolved to champion her fellow women's rights and confront the formidable hurdle before them, determinedly embracing the forthcoming battle. Gangubai took the children born within the brothel to the school's principal, seeking their enrollment, but faced refusal. She argued that her children deserved education and emphasized the historical coexistence of the brothels and the school without conflict during its construction. A journalist, Hamid Fetsi, introduced himself, and Gangubai invited him to the brothel, anticipating compelling stories. Despite objections, she paid her children's school fees before departing. On a subsequent visit, Mr. Fetsi conducted an interview, capturing photos. As the interview unfolded, Gangubai's children entered, disclosing their expulsion due to physical punishment. Gangubai urged Mr. Fetsi to photograph her with her children and pen an exposé on their mistreatment. In the midst of this, Kamli gave birth but succumbed to illness, leaving Gangubai in deep mourning for days. A few days later, Mr. Fetsi visited Gangubai and proudly presented the magazine article he had written about her and her children. He extended an invitation to an upcoming women's rights rally the following week, encouraging her to share her life story and the hardships faced by her and her fellow women. He had prepared a speech for her, which he handed over to her for memorization. However, on the day of the rally, nervousness took over, and she struggled to follow Mr. Fetsi's drafted speech. Gathering her courage, she decided to speak from her heart. She passionately described the challenges of prostitutes, revealing that many were victims of human trafficking, trapped with no alternatives. Society, she lamented, unjustly stripped them of their humanity and fundamental rights. Determined, she pledged to advocate for her fellow sex workers and their rights. Following the rally, Mr. Fetsi returned to the brothel, accompanied by local politician Mr. Patil. Seeking the women's support in the upcoming election, Mr. Patil was met with Gangubai's firm stance that their endorsement hinged on their dire situation due to the school's petition. Mr. Patil asserted that only the Supreme Court or Prime Minister could influence the matter. Gangubai proposed a meeting with the Prime Minister, to which Mr. Patil agreed, contingent upon their vote in the approaching election. Informed by Mr. Fetsi, Gangubai learned that the Prime Minister had agreed to a meeting. Accompanied by her son Birigi, she embarked on the journey to meet him. During their encounter, Gangubai made a fervent plea to legalize prostitution, but the Prime Minister expressed its impossibility. Disagreeing, she highlighted the plight of the sex workers, victims yet stripped of their rights, even their abode. In response, the Prime Minister assured her that their legal rights and place of residence would be safeguarded. Expressing gratitude, Gangubai thanked him and departed. Gangubai triumphantly fulfilled her commitment to her community, ensuring no one lost their homes and children could attend school. Every member of the neighborhood, from friends and former lovers to adversaries, gathered in white attire to honor her. Throughout her life, Gangubai remained devoted to the women of Kamatipura, distinguished by her white sari, golden tooth, and a heart of gold. Though history books overlooked women like her, her remarkable contributions to Kamatipura's women will forever echo in memory. Her photograph graced Kamatipura's walls for 5 decades. Amidst life's trials, she carried a persistent smile, aspiring to be a movie star, yet her existence unfolded as a magnificent tale.